What's going on YouTube? The M1 iPad Pro has been a beast. It's been crushing everything that I've thrown at it for the past 3 days since I've owned it. I did a 24-hour impression video with my friends Bram Shank and Will Sigmund from Appleosophy. Links to that will be down below. But I have found an issue with the M1 iPad Pro. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to see if it's a deal breaker. Before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you get a notification on your phone when I drop new videos as we cover your favorite tech and video games. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show. Alright folks, so as I've said, the M1 iPad Pro has been a beast. I've been editing every video for the past 3 days on it. It exported a 17-minute 4K video in under 10 minutes. It was around 8 minutes actually. Color grading, it's super accurate. It is super bright. Thunderbolt has been amazing, able to transfer 20 gigabyte huge video files in 4K in about 10 minutes or less. So that's obviously sped up my workflow and turnaround time exponentially. Really great for content consumption as well. I've been watching a lot of Netflix, some Jupiter's Legacy. By the way, I'm covering that show on my second channel, We Sibs, West Coast, East Coast Siblings. So if you want to check that out, links will be down in the description below. Center Stage has also been nice. I've been using it a bit more than I thought I would. I wasn't aware of how much I FaceTimed, but then everybody's saying, whoa, your camera's moving. And I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the things. But enough with all the good, let's talk about the bad. So Chris, if not the processor, not the camera, not the Thunderbolt port, what is it? Well, you probably thought this screen was off. Of course it's on. Mini LED technology. But you also notice something else, this blooming effect, or what some people call the glow effect. If you can't see it, let me hit the studio lights just for a second. As I cut the studio lights, it becomes more prominent. This glow effect around the overlay menu elements on the screen. This is blooming. And it's due to the mini LEDs having dimming zones. So this is one of the issues when comparing something like mini LED to something like OLED, which can individually turn on and off the backlight for pixels. OLED allows the pixels around these elements to be completely off, creating perfect blacks like you see in other places here, and not these bright zones or this blooming effect. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It is actually an issue. Now, how much of an issue? That remains to be seen. In my personal workflow, it hasn't been a deal breaker. Right now, I don't shoot in HDR, so there aren't any extreme contrast ratios that I have to be aware of when editing, and it's been great. The screen has been super bright for color grading and making sure everything looks right. Now, where I did notice this the most, and that doesn't mean that I noticed it a lot, was in content consumption. So I was watching Army of the Dead over the weekend, Zack Snyder's new zombie action movie, and there were some scenes where it was extremely dark and somebody would have like a lantern or a glow stick or a flashlight, and you would see that blooming effect. Now for me, it didn't distract me, as naturally light objects tend to have a certain glow in dark environments, and so it kind of just felt like it was shot that way even though it wasn't, and this was due to the mini LED technology. Now I would imagine this would be much worse if they had the same ratio of mini LEDs as they do in their bigger 32-inch Pro Display XDR. In fact, that's probably why they crammed so many mini LEDs, is to reduce that blooming effect, reduce that glow effect that you're seeing on certain elements of the screen. But this only happens when you have pitch black backgrounds with super bright overlays. So in movies, it seemed natural, but I would imagine for some content creation in HDR, it could present a problem. Now, again, I don't shoot in HDR, so if you do, let me know in the comments below if this is an issue for you. And anybody else who has the iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch with the mini LED display, is this a big deal for you? Is this a distraction? For me, it's not, and it actually adds to the novelty of the display. The iPad Pro display has been the same pretty much since 2017. It's had the same colors, it's had the same pixel density, it's had the same ProMotion. All of those things have been the same. So this is something new that reminds me, hey, you've got the new iPad Pro every time I watch something, and it's not in a negative or distracting way for me. But I say all that to say I'm still very much in love with my M1 iPad Pro. I've enjoyed using it every day. Sorry, Blade. I've enjoyed using it every day for content creation and consumption. It is everything that I wanted it to be. So with that being said, this is a great issue to have. It is my only issue with the M1 iPad Pro. So be sure to hit the like button, guys. If you liked the video, subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification on your phone when I drop new videos. Again, teamed up with 12 South, we're doing a video on the Hoverbar Duo. We're going to compare it to some other stands for your M1 iPad Pro, so you don't want to miss that. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granny Geek Show.